Upholstery. Let's talk about how I learned to do upholstery. I learned how to sew from my mom. From a very young age, I learned to sew. I made doll clothes and Barbie clothes and just sewed, little things as a kid. My mom was a seamstress her whole life. She owned and operated a home decor sewing workroom where she made slip covers and window treatments and cushions and draperies and pillows and all manner of home decor sewing. She specialized in slip covers and did a lot of slip covers, but she did everything really. And so I learned to sew from her. I actually went to college for art, and when I was in college, I was asked by a gal at church, actually the same gal that gave me the curtain panel that I used for the vanity stool in my last video. That was years ago. She asked me to paint a mural in her brand new lake home that they were building. And so I did that while I was in school, fearfully. And I then started a mural painting business or a decorative painting business. This was, in the late 90s, early 2000s. So I did that for about 10 or 15 years, all the while my mom ran her home decor sewing workroom. So I learned to sew all kinds of home decor items from my mom. She never formally taught me, but I just learned from watching her really, and did a little bit of sewing for myself. I didn't really start sewing until I became an adult and had my first place. Had to make curtains for the windows in my first place and picked the most difficult style of curtain to do with tab top curtains, where I had to do all kinds of detailed little sewing on little tabs. Anyways, that's really what started my sewing journey as an adult, is having to sew for my own homes, because necessity breeds invention, right? I have always sewn for myself, slip covers and things like that. And then eventually I took over my mom's sewing business because she became ill. And so I started helping her out with her sewing business and eventually took over her sewing business. After sewing for a few years, making slip covers mostly, I decided I wanted to learn upholstery just for myself, because I wanted to be able to upholster pieces for my own home. And so I started looking into trying to learn upholstery. Of course, this was before YouTube was a thing. And so I was looking online, and it was difficult. It was difficult to find a place to learn upholstery. And it seemed to me like upholsterers kind of gate kept information, which why wouldn't they? That's their trade secrets. But anyway, I did end up finding an adult night school in the town next to mine. So I signed up for this upholstery class at this adult night school. You bring your piece of furniture to the school and leave it there, and then you go to the school. I went one night a week, and you just paid as you went. And you went there and you just worked kind of at your own pace. There was one instructor, her name was Joy. She was about my mom's age at the time. And I was just recently at the upholstery supply shop that's kind of near there. They said that she's still teaching. I'd love to go there and see her. Anyways, I did that once a week. My first project was a button tufted wing chair. The way that the class operated was everybody had their pieces, and you could bring anything. People working on sofas and chairs and chaise lounges and all kinds of different pieces, all different, and everybody was at a different place in their upholstery journey. I was a little bit more advanced because I had already been sewing. I already knew how to make cushions. I already knew how to make welts. I already knew the nature of fabric because I'd been working with fabric for so long that I was a little bit more advanced. So I wanted to move through the project faster, but there was about 15 to 20 people in the class at a time and only one instructor, and she wouldn't let you make your own relief cuts. She went around and made all the relief cuts for everybody's projects. I guess too many people messed up a lot of fabric doing it themselves. My first project was a button tufted wing chair. With that, I learned how to do button tufting. I learned how to 8-way tie springs. I learned all the intricacies of a wing chair, which kind of has a lot of technical pieces and parts. After I finished that project, I brought it home, and I never went back to the class. Well, then shortly after that, my very good friend husband owned and operated an upholstery shop, and he needed some help. He asked me to work for him part-time. I did that for about a year. He was a master upholsterer. He had been doing upholstery his whole life, worked for a master upholsterer, and then eventually took over his shop. What a craftsman. Just phenomenal, best upholsterer in town for sure. So Anyway, I don't know why I get choked up talking about it. It was just a blessing in my life. He died of cancer a few years later. And so I actually inherited a bunch of his tools and 2 sewing machines and his cutting table and, just a bunch of stuff from him. I was mainly the tear-off girl there. He had a full-time stitcher, and she would make all of his cushions and pillows and welt. And any time that a piece needed sewing, she would do all of his sewing. And then he did all of the upholstery. He did all the fabric cutting of all the pieces, and then he would do most of the reassembly of the pieces. Sometimes I would do a little bit of putting pieces back together as well on simple pieces, but he did most of that. I just did mostly tear off, but I learned so much when I was there. I got to see how he ran his shop, just every aspect of it. So it was a huge learning experience for me to work in his shop. So I would say that's probably where I learned the most, is from him, because he would always stop and show me little tips and tricks that I could do to make things easier and faster, and how to do relief cuts better, and just so many little things that I come back to my mind, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was definitely something that I learned from Rodrigo, Anyhow, I wish I'd have sat with Pat, his stitcher, a little bit more and learned some of her techniques, because she had the cushion making process down to a science. I mean, she could whip out cushions so fast, and they were so beautiful, perfectly square, and so lovely. So yeah, working in that shop, I really learned a ton, and that was a huge blessing to me. I never ran my own upholstery shop. I had my own home decor sewing business for years, making slip covers and window treatments and all kinds of stuff, mostly slip covers, but all kinds of home decor sewing. I don't have that grind of owning an upholstery workroom, just doing upholstery day in and day out for years and years. However, I think that's what makes me a good upholstery teacher, because I'm not so far removed from being a beginner. I still remember what it's like to be a beginner. One of the reasons why I never did upholstery for clients is because I had a gentleman's agreement, or maybe a unwritten non-compete agreement with my friend, that I wouldn't do upholstery, because we just had a reciprocal agreement. I would send him all of my upholstery inquiries, and he would send me all of his slipcover inquiries. And that's why I never did upholstery professionally or for clients. If you're interested in learning upholstery, I do have a very beginner upholstery course. It's made for beginners using a very basic style chair. So if you're interested in learning how to do upholstery, my course is called Upholstery Basics for Beginners, and I have a video called Choose the Right Chair that you can click on right here, and I'll help you choose the right chair for your very first upholstery project, so you can start your upholstery journey, and I'll see you in there.